Hi everyone, my name is Fatima, and in this video I'm going to share how I went from failing my final high school exams twice to becoming an honor student in university and winning over $20,000 in scholarship opportunities, as well as landing really amazing leadership and research opportunities, generally co-curriculars basically. Here's my story. 2020 was either one of the best or one of the worst years for most people, and for me it definitely was one of the worst years. It was pretty much the lowest year of my life. So I was in my final year of secondary school, which in North America we'd call it high school, but I went to secondary school in Nigeria, high school. And your final exams basically determine everything: university admission, future options. So it felt like 6 years of hard work and sweat kind of hinged on this exam and hinged on this moment. And then COVID hit, and the nationwide shutdown disrupted exam schedules. So the exam was postponed until further notice, and we just had no idea when the exam was going to be. With the fear around COVID and the lockdown and the anxiety and the isolation, and my study routine was shattered because I was in boarding school. Now I was at home. It was really hard to study. Then all of a sudden they just popped up one day. I'm like, oh, the exam has been rescheduled to happen in the next like 2 months or something. So it was like very, very crazy. And because of all the chaos surrounding everything, I failed some of my core subjects, and essentially with this exam, failing the core subjects is basically equivalent to failing the whole exam. Then I wrote the exam again, and I also failed it. So this was failing the same exam twice, and that alone felt like an absolute nightmare. What made it worse was that I wanted to study medicine, and I needed really, really good grades to get to the medical schools I wanted to get into. And then I had always done well academically, and without realizing it, I had built my entire identity around grades. So when my grades collapsed, my self-esteem collapsed along with the grades, and I felt really ashamed. I felt kind of useless. Like, I felt really, really dumb. And then I kind of felt like my perfect future, all the plans that I had were just poof, disappeared into the air. So I began to ask myself, who was I without good grades? I attached my self-worth so much to my academic success that it didn't make sense. To make things worse, sponsorship opportunity that I had been depending on to get into university also disappeared with COVID. And this placed a huge financial burden on my mom. So I wrote the exam a third time, and then I passed. But just barely. I didn't excel. It was just like I managed to skate by, and I felt really defeated. And then miraculously, really miraculously, this opportunity opened up for a university in Ukraine, and they accepted me into their medical program. For the first time in a long time, things started to look up, and this may have been because they accepted transcripts as well. Anyway, about 1 to 2 weeks before I was gonna leave, I had this near-death experience, and it was really scary. It was really bad, but something beautiful came out of it. Through this experience, I discovered Jesus, and I gave my life to Christ, which was really amazing because for the first time, my self-worth and identity wasn't rooted in how well I did in school or like what my grades were. I had a deeper sense of self-worth and purpose, actually. And so when I got to university in Ukraine, I started studying again, and I started school. I noticed something familiar, this terrible pattern of struggling academically. I was not failing, but I wasn't excelling, and I felt like I could do better. I just needed to figure out a way to fix it. And before I could really even figure things out, the war in Ukraine began. And then I was in Ukraine for about like 5 months-ish in my second semester when the war started. And then I had to leave, move back to Nigeria. And strangely enough, I wasn't as devastated as my previous high school exam because my sense of self was no longer tied to academic performance. But still, I was back to square one, and I wasn't able to retrieve my transcripts due to the war. My grades weren't terrible, but they weren't extremely strong either. I was just like average. Eventually, another door opened, and then I moved to Canada to start university again, studying my undergrad. Another fresh start. And this time I made the decision that I wasn't going to repeat the same patterns again. Like, I wanted to excel, not just pass. I wanted to excel in every aspect of university life, not even just grades. And then that's when something clicked. I realized that the professors had a teaching style, and success wasn't about studying like really, really hard. It was more about studying smarter. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but hear me out. To truly excel in the course, I realized that I needed to understand how they test, what content they want you to know, how they would frame the question, what they would ask, what they wouldn't ask, and how to align my studying with each professor's system. So understanding this system became my academic formula, and once I applied this consistently, everything changed. My GPA significantly went up, and I became an honor student. Like, it was crazy to me from failing like the high school exams twice to becoming an honor student in my first year. I was really happy about it. I started winning academic awards, and then I began with co-curriculars, and I started doing research. I got this really cool summer research internship, and I started doing like more research. I got involved in volunteering with different communities and people groups. I got really cool jobs and going into stuff like advocacy and other leadership opportunities on the local level, on the provincial level, and on the national level recently. And I began to build a really strong resume while maintaining really good grades. And eventually, I started applying for scholarships and learned how to apply for multiple scholarships. So I earned over $20,000 in scholarships. So here's what I learned. I learned that anyone with the willingness to learn and the belief that success is possible, with the right tools, can excel academically and in co-curriculars at the same time. Good grades can get you through school, but good grades plus really cool co-curriculars can get you into the right rooms and open up scholarship opportunities and leadership opportunities and networks and jobs that would actually change your life even beyond university. So, this channel is for students that are struggling with their grades, feeling discouraged, left behind, feel like they're not smart enough, which is rubbish, and don't know how to fund their education and would like to learn more about how to get scholarships and leadership opportunities. On this channel, I'm going to be sharing my practical tools for academic success, strategies for building strong portfolios, and step-by-step guidance to winning scholarships. Because your past doesn't disqualify you, one grade does not determine your intelligence, your potential, your identity. I wish someone told me this earlier, but now I'm here to tell you. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe, like this video, stay with me because this is just the beginning, and stay tuned because I'm going to be posting more soon. Alright guys, bye!